Hey everybody, how are you? This is Sean Harwell. Guess what? Surprise. You're listening to the Never Heard of It podcast once again. I believe this is episode 58, if you can believe it. We hardly can. Yeah, 58 is great. And this is the podcast where we talk about movies that have fallen through our cracks. We've been stuck doing this awesome series on 1985 movies. So we're taking a movie that, maybe fell through the crack and pairing it with one that, did not necessarily, but maybe one we didn't get to, like today's movies. But first, let me talk to the other side of the room. And it's not just an echo chamber, hopefully. And I'll say hello to my loyal co-host.
My
hello.
New co-host. Hello.
How are you, Craig?
How are you, Craig? It is, yeah, exactly, yes.
Okay,
that's what I went for as for Halloween, was an echo chamber.
The echo chamber? Yeah. Wow.
People really got tired of it really fast. I didn't understand.
Yeah, that's a long night. That's a really long night.
I thought it'd be good. But my name's Craig. I'm the co-host of the show. And this is one of our full-fledged episodes. The last full-fledged episode we talked about Nightmare on Elm Street 2 and Friday the 13th Part 5. So you should definitely check that out if you can. If you haven't.
Those were fun.
Yeah.
They were fun.
But, so we're continuing this series of 1985. And tonight, Sean, what are we going to talk about?
We got Desperately Seeking Susan and The Legend of Billie Jean. One I suspect you heard of if you haven't seen, and the other maybe you have heard of, or it might be new to you, as it was to me. First, our website might also be new to you, and if it is, you definitely should go check that out. It's neverheardpodcast.com. That'll take you everywhere you need to go. If you scroll down far enough, at least, you'll find links to all our social media outlets and presents.
Presents?
Well, it's gifts, but it's also presents with a C-E.
Oh, yeah. I see.
Susan, we all thought you were dead. Just in New Jersey.
Let's start with Desperately Seeking Susan. And I think I would just like to know... I'm trying to figure out a very specific question to ask about this movie.
It was Madonna.
Okay, tell me what you thought of this movie, but by also talking about... Because we got into this a little bit in the tee-up about what you thought it was going to be.
Right.
And they hit us up with that a little bit first. And then I'll give a synopsis and everything and get some initial impressions. I just want people to be prepared for what we're about to get into.
Right. Just how I felt about it?
How'd it make you feel inside?
I got into the groove.
Did you? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's an odd one. The tone is pretty odd. It really flips around, and it's a parody sometimes, and it's super serious sometimes. Gets a little bit dark. It's generally funny. I don't know. I felt like it was a pretty confident movie, but that's you said something during the tee up about it probably isn't the movie that we were sold back in the day. Correct. From the commercials and trailers, and I think that's absolutely true. That being said, I've seen a few things that Madonna has acted in, and this was never one of them. Like, I only saw bits and pieces of this one, and I would say she does a pretty good job in this.
Agree.
And for the anecdote that I told last time about apparently them not being so impressed with her acting or so on, I felt like she fit right in. I don't feel like she certainly didn't sink any of the scenes. I thought Roseanne Arquette was great. Aidan Quinn is odd, isn't he?
He's an odd bird.
He's kind of an odd bird. Bit. I mean, definitely good, but there was some stuff. So yeah, I don't know. Certainly not a bad movie. I was entertained throughout. How did you feel?
Okay, I'm kind of in line with you here. I think I was thinking that this review, I think, for me at least, is going to be brought to you by the letter D. That's not necessarily my grade of this movie,
Right.
if we were going to do grades, which we're not. But my kind of big things are disappointed.
Okay.
Okay.
Hmm.
And I think that still ties back into my expectations of it, even now, knowing that it's not just a movie about Madonna. And dated.
Okay.
Because I think, to me, in some ways, this is the most dated movie that we've watched.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Which we can,
It's very 80s.
we can get into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can get into it in detail in a second.
Sure.
But first, those are the big ticket items to me. And then I'll give the synopsis just in case you don't know what this movie is about. And then we can kind of talk about how the synopsis maybe doesn't even really cover it here.
Mm-hmm.
So this is from IMDb, of course. A bored suburban housewife, that would be Rosanna Arquette, seeking escape from her life, suffers amnesia after an accident, wakes up, and is mistaken for a free-spirited New York City drifter named Susan, which would be Madonna, of course.
Sure.
And so, man, you're already, I think, just in that synopsis, and this is what I thought was a good place to kind of pick up after our initial thoughts. You got two tough hurdles to overcome anytime amnesia and the words mistaken identity are tossed about in a plot synopsis. Those are difficult.
Sure.
Those are difficult. I'm not sure this movie completely overcame those difficulties.
Right.
That said, I feel like I'm with you in that I think the actors did their damnedest.
Yeah.
I thought Rosanna Arquette was really just quite enjoyable.
Yeah.
And that's a tough role, you know?
It is, and I would say that I find this more immediately entertaining. Like going with mistaken identity and amnesia to basically get you into a story about a woman who is kind of having the identity crisis, kind of having like is this where I need to be? Am I a housewife, or I'm intrigued by this life over here, like. It's a more immediately entertaining way to get into that story.
I think so. It's interesting. Yeah. It's a little stalkery. Stalkery. That said,
but since it's ladies,
it is ladies. So maybe we let it go. And it's always a question of then once the mistaken identity device is kind of put in place, it's like how long are they going to spin that, and when are they going to resolve it, and sort of how are they going to resolve it? I mean. Private Resort would certainly be an example of one way to do it. When Rob Morrow is mistaken as the barber, even though it feels like that could have been cleared up pretty quickly. Yeah. And this is another way of doing that where the main character herself doesn't quite know if she is the person that Aidan Quinn believes her to be. Mm-hmm. Now... Oh man, it's kind of hard because I feel like we got to give a little more detail to kind of get into that process, because I do think like the setup to this movie is so important in some ways. Like the rest of it is less so. Like it's sort of just about the experience. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit then about the setup. I think Rosanna Arquette, she's in New Jersey, right? Mm-hmm. She's married to a guy. What was his name? Gary Glass.
Yeah, Gary Glass.
The hot tub king, who I will say, like, I didn't expect that because we open in a hair salon. If I'm not, do we open on Madonna? Right, we open on Madonna taking a Polaroid selfie, actually, if I'm not mistaken, laying on a rug when whoever she spent the night with is out cold. And I don't know, man, there's some... Is it mob stuff? I don't know. Yeah. Kind of, yeah. There's some earrings of value that belonged, I think, to Nefertiti.
Of course.
Or of Nefertiti. Right. That changed hands that Will Patton is after.
Oh, man. And that guy's a nut.
Oh, he is a total nut.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that I think is a common thread throughout this movie is that sometimes it feels like certain characters are in different movies a little bit.
A little bit.
But they're really bringing it to whatever movie that they're in, which I kind of like. But so our introduction to Rosanna Arquette is in a salon. We're going to skip the fact that the color palette in that salon scene almost made me want to vomit. But we'll come back to that. And this movie is definitely in love with the title because you see it about 5 different times in the first 10 minutes, right?
Yeah.
She's been following this chain of personal ads that always start with Desperately Seeking Susan.
Mm-hmm.
And she finds this romantic and interesting and wishes that she knew more about it. Laurie Metcalf plays her sister-in-law.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, she's not as enamored by, I think, what's in the newspaper, but I guess she gets it, right? There's a dinner party. All these people are there. That's when we meet Gary, the husband. Laurie Metcalf is all over Stephen Wright because he's a dentist, which I thought was hilarious and loved that. The idea of them as a couple, like I would watch an entire movie with Laurie Metcalf.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, this entire movie does not feature enough of them. But anyway, I don't know. I mean, I kind of, in the sense, like that Gary and Roberta, Roseanne Arquette, excuse me. Like their relationship, it's not that they're at each other's throat.
Right.
It's not like it's really dissolving to the point where divorce is being tossed about. It's sort of like he just doesn't really kind of take her for granted. He's not mean to her necessarily.
Right.
He's just not that interested in whatever she has going on, I guess. And he's polite and he's kind, but there's no spark, right?
There's no spark. I mean, we don't know it quite yet at the very beginning of the movie, but he is apparently seeing someone else.
Yeah.
Like, we never really get into that, but he is seeing someone else.
Yeah. I think that helps you not really feel concern when Roseanne Arquette kind of dumps him by the end of the movie. And is ready to go off with Aidan Quinn, even though they really haven't known each other that long. And, oh man, I don't even know how exactly these things transpire per se, but she goes looking for Susan based off the personal, in which the personal is like, meet me at Battery Park at 4:00 or whatever. And so she goes to more or less stalk, if you want to be mean about it, or just witness these people and kind of see who they are. And we see Madonna, and we see Robert Joy, who plays the character Jim, who's her kind of boyfriend. He's in a band, and he's touring constantly, and that's kind of why I guess that's why he's doing these personals. I mean, we sort of get the sense, I guess, that she doesn't have a permanent address, Madonna.
That's how I feel.
Or a permanent phone
boyfriend,
number.
or anything permanent, really.
Yeah, there's really nothing.
Nothing really permanent.
And did it cross your mind that this whole movie, like, it just would not exist in the age of cell phones? Because you could just call her.
Yeah. Except she might be such a free spirit that she doesn't own a cell phone.
Could be.
That would be a pretty good character trait, to let you know that she's off the grid.
Yeah. So she is the 1985 version of Off the Grid, I guess. Yeah. And Into the Groove. Yeah. And so Rosanna follows Madonna through the city. Madonna sells, or does she sell or trade her iconic pyramid jacket that she's wearing at a secondhand store? Tells the guy it was owned by Jimi Hendrix, even though that's BS. Totally. And he, of course, didn't even believe it for a second, because he turns around and sells it to Rosanna Arquette, saying it belonged to Elvis or somebody?
Yeah, Elvis.
Doesn't matter.
And Susan gets boots.
She gets the boots.
Out of the deal.
That's right. The glittery mirror boots, walks out.
So free-spirited.
She's so free-spirited in her shoe wear selection. But basically now Rosanna has the accoutrement that she needs to kind of look like Susan.
Right.
And here's God, where some of this breaks down to me. I can't remember who does the next. I know, it's just like, it's so complicated in the setup.
Really, it comes at you pretty quick, because they've got to set up this amnesia.
Yeah.
And yeah, and
Meanwhile,
we gotta
I'm just
set a
like
bunch
thinking
of
this is
stuff
going to be a
before.
romantic comedy, right?
Yeah.
So here's how Aidan Quinn. This is my main point. Here's how Aidan Quinn and Rosanna Arquette meet, because this is the crux of the movie. Jim, the boyfriend of Madonna, calls Aidan Quinn and asks him to go meet. Rosanna Arquette, I remember now, has taken out a personal herself, right?
Mm-hmm.
Calling herself, desperately seeking Susan. This is stranger or
right.
whatever. Meet me at blah, 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 blah. And so Jim, the boyfriend, sees the personal ad, even though he's not even in New York at this point. He's in Baltimore.
Mm-hmm.
And he calls up Aidan Quinn, his, I guess, kind of friend?
Are they just friends? Because they look like they should be brothers. They look almost exactly the same. Oh my God,
they look, yes. I noticed that too. I was like, it's almost like easy to mistake them at one point. He calls up Aidan Quinn, who's working as a film projectionist, which that I liked. I liked his little work environment, and he's got to flip the reels, the projectors, and he screws that up at one point because he's talking on the phone, and people get mad. But he asks Aidan to go there and just make sure everything's okay. He's like, who is this stranger? And, I don't want some bad guy to find Madonna and hurt her. Just make sure everything's okay. But Aidan Quinn, whatever their relationship is, those two dudes, he doesn't know what Susan looks like, right?
Right. So they're not the best of friends. This is another one of those movies where it's like, what is this relationship? He seems really annoyed.
It's like Fright Night, yeah.
And for some reason, that's what made me think they were brothers. But then at the same time, what kind of brothers are they if he doesn't have any idea who this girl is that he's crazy about? But then again, I guess we don't really have any idea how long they've been together.
Yeah. I mean, long enough that they've been doing personals, at least a series of personals that Rosanna's been following.
But they're not together enough that, they're so not together that he has to put personals to in the paper to meet her, I guess.
That's true.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good point, too. At any rate, that's how these two get together. Right. So Aidan Quinn he borrows a moped from a Chinese delivery place, which that may be the common thread, mopeds in these two movies that we're going to talk about. Anyway, and he goes down to this meeting place. Well, Rosanna Arquette is there, and guess what? Will Patton, the baddie who's looking for the earrings that Madonna has and has locked away in a locker, is there too. Mm-hmm. And he sees this girl in the pyramid jacket that he's recognized before. Yeah, he's seen Madonna, right? He knows who he's after, doesn't he?
Does he? No, he only saw her once, and he only saw her from the back, right? He walked through the lobby and saw her jacket.
Okay. Yep.
And that was when he was on the way up to throw the mobster out the window.
Yeah, a lot of this movie hinges on that damn jacket. I mean, it's a pretty iconic piece of costume work there. Whoever the costume guy is, or gal. And so he spots a jacket, gets a little rough with Rosanna, wants her to come with him, and blah, 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 blah. He looks like, Jesus, there was somebody he looked like. He's got like platinum blonde bleached hair in this movie. Very... just kind of creepy. Like he plays it straight as a nail, and seems like a pretty creepy little dude here. Yeah. And Rosanna's pulling away and raising her voice and trying to get away, and Aidan Quinn's seeing this, and he comes running after her just as she's does she get flung into a lamppost? No, I shouldn't be laughing. I mean, how did that happen exactly? Because I look down to make notes, and then I look up again, and there's this really weird slow-mo effect going on. Yeah, and it was just bizarre.
She didn't. I don't think she flew into a lamppost, but she. They're.
Did he push her?
Well,
I mean, is that?
See, I think Will saw the moped coming, and he just cut bait and just started walking away, and then and so Des comes up. And he's like, "Hey, was he bothering you or something?" And I think she started pulling away from him. Meanwhile, and let's not forget this complication that's been going on, is that Madonna saw the ad and was going to meet her, but she doesn't meet her. She sees her but doesn't meet her because Madonna stiffs a cab driver for her fare, and he gets the cops on her before she can get to Rosanna. There's so much
The cab
going
driver,
on. Yeah.
so great.
There's so much.
Yeah.
So she kind of sees something happening and realizes that now there are people after her. Madonna does. Before the cops take her away. And Rosanna, I think, just falls, and I'm not sure what causes the fall, but that's when she hits her head. And whatever bag she has goes over the side. And now that I think about
bag presumably has her ID in it, obviously.
Oh, right. That's all it is. It's just her
That's
like
how they get around
identification.
that.
So she doesn't.
Yeah.
And she wakes up otherwise fine, but doesn't know who she is.
I have a couple other side questions about
please.
that. I mean, look, I'm not a neuroscientist. Did it seem like that hard of a hit to give someone straight up amnesia?
Well, no.
I mean, how does that happen? Okay,
No.
I don't know. Maybe you got like a specific spot on the head.
I will point out that recently
I'm gonna
my
test this.
my nephew was accidentally knocked out, like knocked down, slammed his head into the ground, and was out cold, and
Oh, no.
apparently had a seizure, and they had to take him to the hospital and check him out.
Jeez.
And he remembers everything that happened. So,
Okay.
but I mean, again, we're not done with our neuroscientist courses of study.
No, we're still in progress.
Really, it could just be, honestly, it could just be hitting your head in just the right way. I mean, it can also just be a traumatic experience can cause amnesia. So, but again, you kind of have to just give
That was
it
pretty
that.
traumatic.
Yeah. You just have to kind of give it.
You better.
Yeah.
You definitely better.
It's got to be amnesia.
It's
Otherwise, we're never going to get through this.
It's like me asking, now why would Madonna take a cab in the first place? Because they're meeting at the same location that they met the day before,
Yeah.
I think in movie time at least. And it seemed like wherever she went was within walking distance, right?
Seemed like it.
I mean, New York it's pretty easy to get around without a cab, right?
I've rarely taken cabs in New York.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know. She just thought, I'll just hand you a couple pennies and then run out of the cab and that'll be the end of it.
Yeah.
This is the kind of free spirit that we're talking about here, guys.
Yeah, she's a welcher, a moocher. She's a
Yeah.
freeloader.
Not a material girl.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's messing around. Okay, and so that's it. I mean, like that easy first act that we just recapped to you all is how the movie gets the wheels spinning. And so, again, like all the performances, I like that Aidan Quinn is like, I'm really sorry, but I got to get back to work. Go down to Port Authority, blah, blah, blah. Changes his mind, comes back. You can stay at my house for a day kind of thing. And like I felt was at least reasonably suspicious of just letting a stranger into his house.
A stranger
where
with
he's
amnesia.
Stranger with amnesia. Though, yes, this is someone whom he does believe to be his friend's girlfriend.
Sure.
And, the question of how close of friends they are will come up again a little bit because of things that happen between Des and and Roberta there. But, I mean, that's sort of your Rosanna, your storyline. It's those two kind of getting to know each other, trying to piece together who she is exactly, who Susan is. Oh, she's got a key in the pocket of the jacket. Well, where's the key? That's for a locker that's the Port Authority, right?
I believe so.
Or the train station somewhere. In the locker, there's Madonna's circular luggage.
Yeah.
Gaudy circular luggage full of stuff. And, that leads to, I think, some more Will Patton breadcrumbs. Now, I gotta admit, I mean, there's a middle part of this movie that is still a little blurry to me.
Yeah.
Because there's just things that happen, and then the next thing you know, Laurie Metcalf, Gary are getting involved because it's weird that Roberta hasn't come home yet. Maybe she's found somebody else. I think that's when it comes out that Gary himself is cheating, but he still wants to find where the heck his wife is, that kind of thing. And remind me, somehow Madonna gets in contact with him, correct?
Yeah, boy. How does she do that?
That's my point. Okay, but here's the thing. Here's the bigger thing, because this is what I want to get into.
Sure.
it felt like Madonna ended up with those guys more than she's really with Rosanna Arquette in this movie. And to me, well, A, is that a fair statement? I mean, maybe she's not with them more, but I felt a keen lack of seeing them together.
Yeah, well,
Two girls
yeah,
that are on the poster.
two girls with arm around each other, and yeah, I always kind of had this idea in my head that what this movie was is that Madonna's basically going to take her on this adventure.
Yes.
Like you're going
become
to go
streetwise. I'm going to make you streetwise
exactly.
kind of, and bring you into my world.
Exactly. Yeah, no, it
and
doesn't.
I even God. Knowing that the movie was not Madonna's movie, you know, we talked about that. Like, I'm totally fine with that. I totally get it. It makes so much sense because even though I think they promoted it as Madonna's movie in a lot of ways, even that little clip that we played in the tee up where it was all about Madonna for the premiere of the movie. Yeah, we knew, like, of course, yeah, she had to audition twice and take 4 weeks of acting classes just to get the job.
Yeah.
She's not the main character. Right. But I still, I'm totally with you. I thought this was going to be that movie of her teaching Rosanna Arquette what her world is like. This, like, girl power, like, pseudo Thelma and Louise before Thelma and Louise kind of thing, maybe if we're lucky.
Yeah.
And just sort of bring her into, you know, from Jersey into New York and show her what the city is like at that time. And boy, that's just not what this movie is at all.
No.
And that's, to me, was like the biggest disappointment in all this, because at the end of the day, it's sort of about, I don't even know what it's about for Madonna, but for Rosanna Arquette, it's kind of like going from one relationship straight into another one.
Pretty much, yeah.
And it's like, maybe she figured out kind of who she is or found what she's looking for in Aidan Quinn. But especially, like, thinking now, I so much would have preferred, like, now, it's like, no. Like, she needs to find another strong female presence that's, like, living the life that she wants without a man, right?
Yeah. You know, it's funny, I didn't even think about it that way, but you're absolutely right. It's like, yeah, I'm unhappy in this life. I wish I was with a different man.
Yeah.
Like, is that
I just met, you know? So that to me that's the key disappointment in this movie is that, because I'm kind of with you. Like, Madonna's not bad at all in this movie. I don't think there's like one scene where I felt like she had some dialogue that, you know, it just felt a little like amateurish in the reading.
Sure.
In the delivery. But other than that, like, no, like, I enjoyed watching her presence, and like, she's fun, and like, she's Madonna, you know?
Yeah.
That's like what you would want from her first movie, and like, she totally nailed that.
Yeah.
She nailed being herself, guys. It's not that easy to do.
She was born
I'm not saying that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't know, man. It felt like, in hindsight, like a missed opportunity to do something a bit more with those two main female characters. Because like we said, like, you know, we've been talking about 15, 16 movies now, and this is literally the first one to feature a woman in the lead, let alone two. And yeah, I don't know. I was hoping for more, Craig.
Agreed.
Well, let's talk a little bit about how the movie is dated then, because that, to me, was like the other thing that really stuck out. And I was wondering, like, I think it's going to be interesting to look at these things as we're doing this here, because it occurred to me that maybe the real straight genre movies, you know, that we've been watching, maybe those are going to like hold up a little bit better as far as being dated than like the stuff that kind of leans a little more serious, you know. I don't necessarily know why that is, and maybe it like won't be the case when we get around to watching, you know, Out of Africa or something.
No, I hear you.
But I don't know. I just like with both of these movies, actually, and we'll get to that when we talk about the next one. But it just felt like, and obviously this movie takes place in the present, but so have a lot of the other ones that we've watched, right? But from the word go, like, I'm telling you, like, inside, like, all the set decoration and dressing and just like the color choices, man, that salon, like, did you notice that? Like, it's just like this weird pastel peachy color, and I was just like, this just looks gross. Like, it looks like
Well, I seem to remember
Band-Aids or something.
Yeah, for some reason around that time, I seem to remember the color combo of like peach and gray.
Yeah.
Was like a thing, and like peach and gray, man. That's, I mean, it's salmon. It's literally salmon. Like it's almost.
Yeah.
But no, I had a note down whenever Susan kind of hooks up with Gary, and there's a bit where she goes into their bedroom, and that's the pinkest bedroom I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Like it's just got wallpaper with this pink pattern all around it, and like everything's just pink. It's like, oh my God. Like how yeah. But there's definitely, it's definitely a very colorful movie anyway.
Yeah, it is. And like certainly not all of it looks bad. It's nice, I think, to see. It's always nice to see New York from like, earlier time periods and see they're out there filming the street. You got Giancarlo Esposito out there is like hawking hats and watches and looks so much like he did in Do the Right Thing.
Yeah.
And that was a nice little fun thing. And all the other, New York actors that you talked about popping up here and there with John Turturro. But like stuff like that, again, I think sort of the quickness to which she falls into a relationship, that's a little dated. And I mean, obviously the music is of the period. That didn't really even bother me though,
No.
I don't know if the version you watched, but I do feel, oddly enough, the version of Get Into the Groove that's at the end credits, like it sounded terrible for some reason when I was watching this.
Well, apparently it's the demo.
Oh, well, that would make sense because it sounds like it's recorded in a toilet or something.
Yeah, it exactly. Yeah, it's like not fully like mastered or something. And
I bet that's some sort of licensing thing.
Maybe. And speaking of which, at the beginning of the movie, they play the song "Urgent," which
they did, right?
Was by Foreigner originally.
It's a different version though, right?
It's a totally different version by Junior Walker, I guess, is singing it. I was trying to figure out what was going on there. Like I kept hearing, I was like, something's not right. Like these lyrics, I know every one of these lyrics. Something's not right.
Yeah, I did too. I did the same thing.
Yeah.
Emergency. Interesting. But yeah, there's little things in there throughout that I think you're gonna see and pick up on and go, wow, this is really 1985.
Yeah. I'm
looking at right here. And maybe in ways that you don't when you watch something even like Back to the Future or Goonies or some, or I mean, I was thinking about, when you're talking about the rooms and the pink, and, we kind of laughed at Robert Russler's room in Nightmare on Elm Street 2 and his leather duvet.
Oh, yeah.
Which I'm still jealous of.
Oh, yeah.
But even like I was thinking, even in like some of these horror movies, well, maybe Once Biten's not the best example. But, it's the way they shoot the thing it's you're not getting a ton of like bright light daytime exterior stuff anyway for a lot of them. Mm-hmm. That it does, I don't know, it doesn't stick out and hit you in the face quite as much as maybe it did in this movie for me anyway.
Maybe so.
I don't know. Is it okay that Madonna's nips are like visible several times in the movie, but very, very early on? I mean, I don't know. Is that just like feeding into the legend of who she was at the time, or?
I mean, I definitely feel that way because I remember how. So she obviously became very popular, and I remember there being a lot of jokes about how she just wears underwear over top of her clothes.
Lace, dude.
Like she was,
so much lace.
Very much lace. Again, this was supposed to be a rated R movie.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. And I mean, Madonna is not someone who is afraid to show herself off.
No.
So, I think all of that was 100% planned.
Yeah, and again, it's a female director, female writer. I mean, not that means there wasn't pressure by anybody else to put that in this movie, but I do kind of wonder about that, and certainly in hindsight if there was any indication there. But also, I mean, like watching that and thinking about, it's like, golly, like, can you imagine any sort of pop star taking this trajectory, any female pop star today? I mean, I think Lady Gaga is like the obvious comparison, but I don't think she was quite as young.
Yeah, not even. Yeah.
Well, she hasn't really. She's done an American Horror Story, but
yeah.
I don't think she got naked in that or showed her boobies. So yeah, I mean, it is interesting. It was like it's definitely such a different time.
Yeah.
For that kind of marketing too, and seeing those worlds kind of cross over.
Well, and even for her to become popular and then be in a movie that it's literally not just about her playing herself.
Yeah.
Like it's not, Purple Rain or any like
or 8 Mile.
What was like? Well, there was like wasn't there like a Rick Springfield movie or something? Like I remember, like
I'm sure.
Yeah, people would have like a hit single, and then there'd be a movie about him. So yeah.
Yeah, he's done a bunch of acting.
Yeah.
It's not from Justin to Kelly, or what was it? Britney Spears Crossroads. I guess.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that. And I suspect that this movie, at the end of the day, like as much as we can criticize it here, it's probably better than a lot of the. I mean, I loved 8 Mile, but a lot of these things.
Oh yeah, I think
it felt like the right positioning for her. I guess
totally. I mean, like it's certainly to me, it's like a more interesting. It's just a more interesting way to go.
Yeah,
I
think so. Yeah, and it definitely takes some pressure off of her in a lot of ways. Mm-hmm. I can't help but think, again, 31st on the year at the box office, $27 million. This movie. I mean, that it's right behind Nightmare on Elm Street 2.
Yeah,
and I think both of those movies, I think they do sort of prove what can happen in the box office when you've got some element that gives you a built-in box office, an audience. Excuse me.
For sure. Yeah.
Because, who were we talking about? Like they wanted Goldie Hawn or somebody for this originally?
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I don't think this movie would have done as well if it's just another actress in that role.
I don't think so either. But like, I think it was, it seems like it's a case of, you have Madonna, which is a huge hook because no one's seen her act, but everyone is thinking about her right now. And then you go and see the movie, and you got a great cast. You have an interesting story. It's not just a fluff piece for this pop star.
Right.
So yeah, I mean that's great. Like it doesn't have to be Citizen Kane, but just the fact people can go watch it and like it's funny, it's entertaining, and then they go tell their friends that it's pretty good, and it
was fresh, dude.
It's very fresh and live and gnarly.
Oh fresh man. How would you what genre would you place this movie in? Because I do think that's kind of interesting too, because it's not just a romantic comedy and it's not just a drama.
No.
But it's got elements of all of those things.
Yeah.
And again, like I think that's also like to me, that's further proof of kind of what Madonna brought at the box office, I think, because it's not just so clearly
it's
cut,
a hard sell. If you don't have Madonna, it's a hard sell because well, 2 movies kept popping in my mind while I was watching it. One movie is Johnny Suede. I don't know if like I got this Johnny Suede
I didn't even think
vibe.
about that, but yeah.
But the other one is After Hours. Like there's definitely a kinship there. And I feel like both of those movies, Johnny Suede and this one, and After Hours,
right?
They definitely mess around with tone. Like, did you catch the thing when they're in the Magic Club in Desperately Seeking Susan, and you've got the cigarette girl walking around, and she says, "Wait, where is it?" You don't see her. She's just walking around. I think it's toward the end when everyone goes to see the magic show, and she's walking around. You just see the tray of cigarettes, and she's like, "Cigarettes, premium, unleaded." And it's just like little stuff like that. It's just like,
right.
Suddenly it's like Airplane. And then like in the next scene, the 2 guys are fighting over the girl and all that stuff. So yeah,
that was kind of interesting there at the end.
Yeah, it really goes all over the place. So, but yeah,
I don't know. I
don't know.
Let's say IMDb has comedy, drama, and that in some ways is probably the best you could do as far as just trying to completely categorize it.
I mean, I don't know if it's
the magic.
Yeah. No, go ahead.
What were you gonna say?
Well, I was gonna say, like, I don't know if I really feel at all like this is a drama. Like, I know it gets somewhat dramatic, but I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, there were moments between Quinn and Arquette that, to me, kind of veered in that territory a little bit. But yeah, I guess not. It's not heavy drama, certainly. I mean, it's definitely through the filter of romanticism.
Yeah.
Between these characters, but yeah, I don't know. The After Hours thing is an interesting comparison, and definitely we're going to do that movie at some point in the 1985 podcast that we're doing. But also just because, Roseanne Arquette, man, I don't know. There's just something like so watchable about her and likable to me, I thought. And that's kind of interesting too, because by, I think, technical definition, she's pretty passive in this. At least in a lot, like in regards to her own relationship, I guess.
Yeah.
Because, obviously the stuff that she gets into, even though, she takes, the initiative to do, to follow Madonna and buy her jacket and all that crap, and then, put out the personal and try and meet her again. But, after she gets amnesia, like all that's kind of over with, she's a bit of a passenger, but still really interesting. I don't know. It made me want to see much more of her in other movies.
Totally. I definitely thought along similar lines.
Well, let's talk about the rest of the cast then, and like who's the standout amongst the rest of them, maybe Madonna aside.
Well, we already talked about Laurie Metcalf, but I really love her.
She is like the best nag in the world. I mean, she's like one of the top class.
She's great. I mean, just her timing is amazing.
Yeah.
And just she just, I don't know, she handles all that stuff so well. Like her and Will Patton, I feel like, are the biggest standouts to me.
Yeah, there was a little moment in the Magic Club. There's literally like a magic club in this movie that they go to, and like this place that Madonna hangs out, and she knows the girl in the beginning who's working as a magician's assistant, and like it isn't. We're not talking like David Blaine here. Like these are like, the band is like a jazz band made up of guys who are nobody's clocking in under the age of 80,
right? And
I think the main magician himself is not very young. But this is kind of where we end up here, and Roseanne Arquette is kind of filling that role, the magician's assistant. But and everybody kind of descends upon the club when they kind of all figure it out. Madonna's there, and Laurie Metcalf and Roseanne Arquette's husband and Aidan Quinn. But there's a moment where I think it was Gary, who was Roseanne's husband. Like he stands up when he notices Roberta is the assistant, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when he sits back down, he bumps into Will Patton, who's at the table beside him. And like you don't realize that until he turns. And it's just like they don't like hand feed you that reveal either. There's no close up or nothing. It's just a split second that you see. I was like, wait, was that Will Patton? I was like, oh shit, yeah. And again, like it's a great little moment. It feels like it should be in like a spy movie or something.
Yeah.
But at least like if you're just looking at Will Patton, but yeah, I thought he was good. I kind of liked Jim, the boyfriend of, in quotes, I guess, of Madonna, the guy in the band. I thought he was kind of, he was kind of fun and interesting. And I don't know that guy. Robert Joy is the actor. And
I recognize him, but I can't place him.
Yeah, he's done some horror for sure. But again, imagine just sort of like Aidan Quinn's slightly less attractive cousin, and you'll get the picture.
Right.
They look so much alike.
They're
It's
so
ridiculous.
close together, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I've got two questions for you.
Lay it on me, yeah.
Question number one, why a pyramid on the back of her jacket? Why did they sit down and they said, the jacket she's going to wear is going to have this pyramid on it? Does that have any meaning to you at all?
No, I swear I read something about the darn jacket.
Yeah.
The other day, and I'll see if I can find it, but no, I don't know. I think it's just easily recognizable from a distance.
Right. Well, I guess the thing
And-
that gets to me is because I was thinking the same thing exactly. It's like totally recognizable. I hadn't even seen the movie, and I know that jacket.
Yeah.
But then they have like the other part of the movie is this pair of stolen Egyptian earrings. So it's like why the Egyptian stuff? Like and it just seems like there's Egyptian earrings and there's this pyramid, but
That's a good point.
nothing else necessarily seems.
I'm sad to say I didn't even make that connection, but
Well, I honestly didn't even make it till just now. I was like, oh, okay. But yeah, I was trying to figure out that. But the other thing I was really curious about was who's the guy laying on the ground outside the Magic Club the entire movie?
gosh,
I was
I
trying
don't
to
know.
figure
Yeah, that
out
was weird, right?
was that a prop or was that a joke? And I couldn't, but it was just, or is that just like this is Skid Row and there's always a
I'd say
guy.
that- I don't know if that's like an inside New Yorker thing.
Yeah.
I don't know that I have anything else to add to this one.
I don't have anything to add now. I kind of see. Let's see what the next movie kind of brings out of this one.
Let's do it. All
Yeah.
right, let's talk about the legend of Billie Jean.
I'm Billie Jean Davy, and I want to set the record straight.
I remember when I was younger, and my wife actually made the same connection. When I was younger, I thought it had something to do with the song Billie Jean because I'd never known anyone's name Billie Jean. You know, and then this movie came out.
You could
like
be
years
forgiven.
after Michael Jackson did.
Well, not that long. It's only like 3 years
Yeah.
at that.
Yeah.
You would be forgiven for thinking that they would at least make like somebody would make a joke about that in the movie itself, right? They don't.
Well, that's the thing. Like as a kid and as a person who didn't know anything that was going on with this movie, my thoughts, a couple of my thoughts were, well, maybe this is a true story, and that song is based on the movie, and so like it's
getting really deep,
it's just like
yeah.
but yeah,
Michael,
clearly I put way
okay.
too much thought in that.
I think if you had been like really analyzing the box office that year, the fact that Legend of Billie Jean finished 129th and made only $3 million, you have to imagine that if they had just been able to make one small connection to the Michael Jackson song, that's like another 2 million at the box office, right?
Yeah.
And the album's still probably going strong on the charts even 3 years later. I think it was a beast. But it is not
Although-
about that Billie Jean. Go ahead. Yeah, what?
If you did make a connection to it, that would be even more because like Billie Jean is like the villain of that song. I feel like
Yeah.
So yeah, so you kind of don't.
been
So
weird.
then it just kind of becomes, why did you name her Billie Jean at all? Like it wasn't based on a true story or anything.
No, it's a curious choice. It's a curious
It
choice. It feels like it's calculated, although I don't know if that's
Maybe.
true or not. Maybe not.
Maybe.
Well, Craig, as you know, The Legend of Billie Jean, according to IMDb, is about a Texas teenager who cuts her hair short and becomes an outlaw murderer with her brother and friends.
That's the whole movie. Actually, the first act is just her cutting her hair. It's astounding filmmaking.
You know what we don't actually see her do in this movie is cut her hair.
That's
but no, we talked a little bit about that in the tee up. You know, it definitely features like it. You know, it's prominent. The poster has her with that short haircut as opposed to the long hair that she does have for a good chunk of this movie. And, you know, it becomes a very big iconic statement to make as a Texas teenager if you're a fan of the Billie Jean myth, according to this movie. And we'll get into that in a second. But you basically, Craig, this movie is so 1985. Actually, the whole plot just hinges around a scooter.
Oh yeah,
That's how in 1985. this
isn't that
damn
great?
movie is. It is great. It's
a
really
tiny
about a brother and sister, in a very small town of, I get Corpus Christi is, I don't know how big of a town. It's big enough to have a mall, and a pretty
Sure.
badass mall at that. You got brother and sister, Helen Slater, Billie Jean herself, and Christian Slater, who goes by the name Binks, because
Binks.
Binks.
Never knew
And
anybody named Binks in my life, especially with an X at the end of the name. I have
Yeah,
no idea where
man.
Binks comes from.
I wish I did.
Yeah.
They live in a trailer park, and they are not the most wealthy, most popular kids in this town. And Binks definitely is getting picked on by some bullies. and we'll get into the very specifics of that because there's some amazing stuff in it. But the bullies steal the scooter. They damage the scooter. Billie Jean goes to get the bully to pay for the repairs to the scooter because it's like that's Christian Slater's life, the scooter. She even says that. Also, when he goes to get them himself, he gets beat up really badly. But the bully, he is not going to pay for this. And the bully's dad, played by, who was that guy? Richard Bradford. You can see where the apple didn't fall too far from the tree with him, because he's a bigger slime ball than his young son, Hubie. And
Hubie.
He not only refuses to pay Billie Jean, but tries to take advantage of her. And Christian Slater ends up accidentally shooting Hubie's father. Now, you might think he shoots and kills Hubie's father. No. He shoots him kind of in the shoulder area, and Hubie's father has to wear a sling. But that is enough to send Billie Jean, her brother, and 2 of her friends on the lam. Sort of. Like, they're on the lam within, like, a 10-mile radius of this town because they don't have any gas money. Right. And they're kids, and then they don't know a lot better. But boy, does this create a sensation. It ripples across all of Texas. And that is the movie in a nutshell, but we got a lot of specifics to get into. But first, Craig, what'd you think of this movie? I know you said you've been it's one you've been wanting to see for quite a while, or at least was on your radar and of interest to you. How did it live up to those lofty expectations?
I thought this was a masterpiece.
Really? Wow.
And I'm still trying to parse through it and figure out exactly why. But
yeah, I would like to know. Yes.
Nothing in the movie let me down.
Okay, good.
I feel like everything I wanted from this movie came to me, and then there were things that I never even dreamed of being possible in this movie that happened, and I was desperately pleased. I think it's a good-looking movie.
Yeah,
I think everybody does a good job. I think it's cheesy when it needs to be cheesy. And then there you could just get it's peppered with these little surprises that are amazing. So I was a big fan. How did you feel?
Wow, that's an enthusiastic. I'm not gonna use the word masterpiece per se,
but it is a masterpiece. You can say it if you want to.
Okay, I enjoyed this movie quite a bit. I think Helen Slater, oh man, great. Really good performance. I liked her a lot. And I'm with you, like the stuff where it's cheesy where it needs to be. I think that's a great way of putting it, but it works because she delivers it, I think. At least that's if I were thinking of the same thing in regards to cheesy. But Herb, Christian Slater, all these guys I kind of liked and enjoyed. To me, Craig, I don't know. I can't fathom that the events that happened would create the reaction amongst the public that is created. And
granted,
that to me is a hurdle that is difficult for me to jump over, even with my good jumping shoes.
Now you have a
Texas
pretty good
boots.
vertical. There's no doubt about that, Sean. But I will say this, because I was thinking about the same. I'm thinking about the same thing, and I think there isn't anything that you missed that would make up for that. Like I think you're basically right on, right? Because I mean, kind of what happens is like they go on the run. They're not really heroes yet, but then by the time they have the mall showdown, like the mall showdown happens, and people see it. And word of mouth starts getting around, and it's like these kids are, showing these bullies or something. Like, yeah, it's weird that she becomes a folk hero.
Yes, I love the thematic of it. Kids standing up to adults, fair is fair, which I don't remember if we talked about it in the last episode. That's what this movie was going to be called, and right. I kind of feel like it maybe should have been. Although I love the title, Legend of Billie Jean. It's ridiculous, because that element worked to me. Like that is your through line and your motivator for what Helen Slater and those kids are doing. Totally buy. Absolutely.
Yes.
every other kid in the state that I did. That to me was, because it happened so quick. And I think you using the word missed, I didn't miss anything. You're right. I didn't miss anything that's on the screen, I don't think. But to me, I felt like if there had been a little, like 4-page, 7-minute scene, or not scene, but sequence between the shooting and the fandom,
Right.
I totally would have been right there on board with this movie and saying, oh man, how did this movie slip through the cracks in 1985? What is it doing at the bottom of the box office? But I think, that was it was hard for me to completely get in line for the Billie Jean Frisbee.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely. I don't know. I kind of go both ways on that one a little bit, because I feel like, these were pre-internet times for
Sure,
a lot of our millennial
sure.
listeners. There was a time before computers were completely, had completely taken over our lives.
I don't think there's a single computer in this movie, is there?
I
don't
don't
even
think there
remember
is a
one.
computer in the movie.
Nope.
So I feel like, it's a local story that's kind of like, oh man, those kids shot that guy. And then when they kind of figure out what's going on, they're like, oh, did you hear what happened here? And then they try to double cross her at the mall, which, I mean, man, you don't double cross a teenager at the mall. I mean, it's
anybody
over
does
for
that.
you.
Yeah. forget it.
And then by the time she does the video, it's like everybody's like, yeah, she's standing, because it's kind of like you kind of have that feeling of like,
Invincibility.
yeah, like you're
I
gonna
only said
get
that because of
behind
the Pat Bennett
something.
or something.
Well, yeah, because you want to be invincible.
Yes.
And you like
I've had that
pop
song
tunes.
stuck in my head for like
Oh man,
days now.
it is. I didn't even realize what that song was going to be, and then as soon as I started
know,
hearing
right?
it, I was like, oh yeah. But like, as a kid, like you don't need a lot to get your engine going behind somebody.
Sure.
Like, it's enough, and especially when there wasn't the internet, where you couldn't learn every single thing about that person.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you're getting like that much of it. You're like, you're a hero, and then she starts doing stuff like she rescues that abused kid and that stuff. And it's just
Yeah,
like, I mean,
love
and
that
it's
scene.
ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
It was
But at the
awesome.
same time, it's like, it's so awesome.
Well,
So yeah.
yeah, I certainly still enjoyed the movie quite a bit,
Yeah.
even despite that. And look, I think, to me, I was even asking the question, well, why is it Billie Jean? Christian Slater, Binks is the one that shot the guy. Like, why
Right.
is she even the focal point of the frenzied mania that happens
Right.
following this? But I mean, you're right. You either go along with that or you don't. It bothers you and stays with you, and you just enjoy the rest of the ride, which is kind of what I did. Or maybe you get wrapped up in it a little bit more, like you did, which is great. But yeah, extremely kind of competently made movie. In some ways, I think having this, and especially watching it in such close proximity to Desperately Seeking Susan, like the fact that it's set in Texas,
Mhm.
like to me, this movie did not feel as dated as Desperately Seeking Susan, even though, you look at this poster and you're like, okay, she's wearing a wetsuit
Right.
with the sleeves ripped off and weird, like homemade gloves. And
Yeah.
everything about it screams 85. And like the fact
Oh,
that,
yeah.
like that Pat Bennett, our song, I think plays like at least 4 times in this movie.
But you've
And-
also got like man on the street interviews that looks like people they really just pulled out of a mall. And
Yeah.
man, oh
It
man,
feels
you've
real,
never been
yes.
more 80s in your life. Like, yeah, like they look 83. They're so 80s. Like they're 2 years
but there's-
behind when this movie was.
But there's also, the story itself, though, I think it kind of has like 70s vibes to it. Like, to me, I'm just thinking of like Badlands and even like, Bonnie and Clyde, which I think was 68 or 69. But,
Yeah.
there's definitely, I would say, at least some inspiration from those 2 movies in
Right.
this thing, a little bit here and there. And so I don't know. Like, at the end of the day, it's ridiculous to say that a movie that the plot really does hinge around the scooter is somehow less dated than just
Yeah.
a good like a character story, like Desperately Seeking Susan, and yet it did. It felt different. It looked different. I don't quite know what it is, but it's all of those elements, I think.
Yeah.
Well, geez, like there's so much I think I want to talk about.
Oh man. Yeah.
Let's just talk about how they get into this movie then, because there's some, yeah, like you said, like just little surprises here and there. I mean, to me, the like I just, I wrote down, it's like you have to kind of like love a movie that like not only opens on the scooter, but like it reveals it as if it's like this object of desire. Like, I mean, there's like multiple close-ups until you see the full thing, and then it comes out, and she and her brother are riding on this thing, if memory serves, and they're just immediately besieged upon by this like convertible full of assholes, basically. I can only assume, since we've stated that seniors rule, they're probably seniors in high school, these guys, right?
Definitely seniors. I certainly can't see sophomores pulling off this kind of thing.
Yeah, I don't think sophomores are pulling it off. They've had their license for a little while. I mean, they're just like awful. I mean, they're making cat calls, extremely rude. Yeah. They're basically running them off the road. But then, somebody's nice little surprise is, there's a guy in the back that's just straight up blasting off photos of everything that's happening with his camera. And to me, like, that made me laugh. I was like, what is that? That dude, like, is that like legal? Can you just like, it's basically like stalking again a little bit, but it made me laugh, and it made me appreciate just like that little detail there.
Well, I like the fact that in the gang of bullies.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in the entire history of the world,
wow,
has there ever been a gang of bullies, and one of them is a shutterbug? Like,
I can't think of one. No, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it usually seems like usually, at least in the 80s, in movies in the 80s, if you had a camera around your neck, you were one of the nerds. You're
not
on the
yearbook
picking
staff.
on anyone. Yeah.
Because, like, think about it, too. It's like, at the rate he's going, like, he's going to have to stop, take film out, put it in, you have to rewind it up, get it loaded and everything.
Oh, man.
Set the ISO. I mean, there's, like, there's steps
I love to
involved
think
with
like
it.
he is really into it. Like, he's got a dark room. It's really one of the touches that makes this movie, as I said before, a masterpiece.
I do think, there might be a spin-off sequel that's The Legend of that guy, whatever his name is.
Oh, man.
Shutterbug, The Legend of Shutterbug. But, the brother and sister, they go to what is basically your local Sonic, or and I guess Dairy Queen had the. Well, there's waitresses.
Not where I was from.
Yeah.
You
go and you pull up. You order at the little speaker box, and you get your milkshake and your burger and your fries. And Helen goes inside, actually, and comes out with a strawberry milkshake. And meanwhile, the bullies have pulled into the parking lot and are harassing Christian Slater about his quote-unquote fagmobile, because, again, it's 1985. They're dropping that word like it's nothing. And then this was a nice little spin on Weird Science here, because it's Christian Slater who ends up tossing the milkshake in Hubie, the main bully, his face, who... I probably should just mention, like, he's completely shirtless and just wearing shorts and, like, aviator shades, like he's,
you do,
like in Top Gun or something.
Right.
But yeah, I thought that was nice. I was like, oh man, Christian Slater. I kind of, because you sort of expect in these movies, like, okay, these two are the losers. They're gonna take it. The stuff's gonna happen to them in the opening, and then later on they sort of get their
fight
moment.
Back. Yeah.
No. He throws the thing right on him, and they take off on the scooter and go swimming.
Yeah. It's another day in Corpus Christi.
Yeah. So there's a couple things that happened in that swimming hole scene that I just found of note. I think like that's not the first thing you hear her say, but one of the like strings of dialogue that she gets in there is like, well, I can handle alligators. And so, okay. I don't think Helen Slater is from Texas.
No.
The accents are a bit here and there for everybody, I'd say. Yeah. But she's in her panties and a very short midriff.
Yeah.
And if I remember correctly from the article about the DVD commentary, I think there is some regret about having had to wear that on her part, looking back for sure. It's
going
a little
swimming
awkward
with your brother.
It's a little awkward. Yeah. And then, she does the joke of staying underwater for a long time to scare her brother. But man, she's underwater for like a long time. I mean,
she's committed to that one.
She ought to consider like Olympic swimming. I mean, I do think she's got a talent there. But then the bullies show up there, and Shutterbug is definitely firing off photos of her out there in the water and coming out of the water. And a couple of other things. I do believe, was it Slater that called Hubie, the main bully, fart face? Or it said something about him being a fart face.
Oh, fart face. That's great.
Yeah, which I enjoyed that. That's always a nice little insult there.
Masterpiece.
But then there's this running thread, and this is before the bullies show up, where Christian Slater is asking Helen Slater about Vermont.
Oh, yeah.
And like he's just obsessed with going to a place where there's cold weather and snowballs and all. And I didn't quite, I don't quite know the backstory there. Do you? I mean,
no, I
clearly
didn't know
she spent some time there, right?
Oh, I honestly never even got that much out of it.
Okay.
Like I thought it was a place he wanted to go. He had a poster of a half-naked girl in Vermont.
Yeah.
He really wants to go to Vermont, and I was like, okay, you want to go to Vermont? And I was hoping at some point there'd be a conversation about that. Like, what's the deal with Vermont?
He does ask her to tell him about Vermont because she's like, again, all right.
Oh, I guess so.
Right?
Anyway. I guess I just took that as like, I don't know, she read up on Vermont. Yeah, I don't know.
And also, okay, actually, before we get any further than this, though, how old are these two?
I was gonna put her as a junior, him as a freshman.
Okay. Yeah, because, that'll come into play a little bit later with Hubie's dead, just like the creepy factor there. But I definitely was like, this girl's under 18. Okay.
Sure.
For sure. So Hubie and the bullies show up again. This time they take the scooter. And boy, that's your inciting incident in a lot of ways, right?
Yeah.
And it's a nice scooter. Like he got, I think, some money from an inheritance. I believe their father passed away, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And he bought, I think it's like a Honda Elite or something like that. It's not just a Yamaha, which they laugh at later.
Scooter.
It's a nice looking scooter. And when we go back to the trailer park and we meet the mom who's getting ready to go out on a date, you really get like he is really stewing about the fact that that scooter got taken. And, anytime there's a trailer park in a movie, I get a little apprehensive just about, okay, like what on earth are they going to do to make this different? Or like what's this going to look like? As we saw on Friday the 13th, some trailer parks have signs that just say trailer park.
Trailer park. Trailer park. Trailer park.
This one does not. I don't remember what it was called, but it does not. I felt like they were pretty cool with how they handled this. There was nothing about it that was just like, ooh, look at this. They're in a trailer,
Well, I liked, to me, it felt like a neighborhood. Yeah. Like they kind of move around in it, and there are people kind of doing their things in different parts of the trailer park. And I liked that world. I thought that was great.
I like the mom too. She's not in this a ton, and I believe this is Mona Lee Fultz is the actress's name. Mm-hmm. But yeah, this scene, you're kind of just, it's basically an establishment of the family life scene, and she's getting ready for a date, and Billie Jean asks her what time she's coming home, and she says, late, I hope. And I was just like, it's good delivery. They don't make a big deal out of it. It doesn't turn into an argument. It was just like, oh, I like this mom. Like, she's honest, and like she's going out to, enjoy herself and have a date. And, maybe this guy will be something. Maybe he won't. Doesn't really matter. And it doesn't really come back into play if memory serves.
The kids are nice about it.
Yeah. And
like
that's a nice difference.
There doesn't seem to be any animosity there, which is nice.
Yeah, they're not angsty. I mean, there's enough angst going around just between Binks and Scooter, for Hubie. But it's also not long after this that we meet the two friends who are Putter and Ophelia, Yeardley Smith and Martha Gammon.
Amazing.
And I think our introduction to them is, of course, when they themselves are watching TV, because,
Yes.
and that happened in Desperately Seeking Susan as well. I think we had characters watching TV in that one. That's just,
Oh yeah.
if we catalog all of these movies that we're doing that feature that, I think it'll be easier to just count the ones that don't.
Oh yeah.
But man, yeah, we mentioned before, Yeardley Smith was playing a 14-year-old in this movie, and she plays Lisa Simpson, so I can only imagine that you know what her voice sounds like. But man, like the first time she opens her mouth in this thing with like her 20-year-old voice and her southern accent, like it's out of control. Like I wrote down, she sounds like a parrot, like, you know, it's like a parrot doing a Texas accent. And it was kind of great, you know, and she's like, "Can I come? I love police stations." And I was dying.
Oh, man,
it's like such a specifically intense thing. And she's so baby faced in this. It's kind of interesting, but I don't know. Like I didn't realize just like, I guess how big of a part they were going to be in this movie per se.
Yeah.
And they got pretty big roles here.
They do.
And I enjoyed it.
I was thinking about that thing you said about she thought she was gonna like blow up after this movie, and like watching the movie, like I could see why she would feel that way.
In
I could
some
certainly
ways,
understand why she might feel that way.
She feels a bit like the Drew Barrymore of E.T. in this one.
A little bit.
Like the 14-year-old version of that. Like she's cussing and like she's holding her own, and she just wants to kind of be a part of what they're doing, you know? And so she's really comic relief, but it's certainly sweet-faced and delivered as such. But I think it's also around this time that, Helen does go to, it's later, sorry, I'm going to miss it. Billie Jean goes to the police, actually, to report the scooter, which, you know, I thought of that too. Like, and then the second that Hubie drives off of this thing, I was like, well, he just straight up stole a scooter. They can go call the cops, right? But so Billie Jean goes there, and that's Peter Coyote is the guy that plays, I don't know, is he a sheriff or detective? What is he?
I believe he's a detective.
Detective Ringwald, I think is his name. It's
Makes
kind of
sense.
interesting. Yeah. And that's our introduction to that guy. And I don't know. I mean, I guess he is sort of your sympathetic adult in this thing in a lot of ways.
Well, he's kind of the same character he played in E.T. in a way.
Yeah, he is actually.
Yeah.
More E.T. connections. And as we mentioned, Matthew Robbins, the director, is a pal of Spielberg. So, hey, maybe there's some crossover there. But, you know, that's basically all just a device to get Billie Jean and Binks apart from one another so that Binks can go try to get the scooter back, which he does. But it's beaten up, and he is beaten to hell. Like when he reveals his face, I was like, holy cow! Like he might need to go to the hospital, buddy, and get some stitches. And so that definitely sets things in motion. Then, I mean, Billie Jean's not going to let that stand, and so the next thing you know, we are at Hubie's father, which is Pyatt. That's kind of what he goes by, which I guess is just the last name, Mr. Pyatt. How would you describe that shop that he owns? I mean, I guess that's just your basic beach tourist.
It's like a beach, souvenir shop.
Souvenir shop, yeah.
Just curiosities, just tons of stuff.
Trinkets and seashells.
Yeah.
Lighthouses. But yeah, so Billie Jean marches in there because Hubie's working in there, and she knees him in the nuts for the second time in the movie, if I'm not mistaken. After she did that at the little diner, I think, or no, yeah,
that's right. She did.
Yeah, she did. And the dad comes in, and this is when the movie goes to Creepy Town.
Oh yeah.
He kind of reminds me of like Stacy Keach. That's who I was wondering.
Yeah.
This actor Richard Bradford. I don't really know him. I think he's in the Trip to Bountiful, actually.
Oh really? Yeah, he seemed really familiar for some reason.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And so, like, he is like, oh, my son, it sounds like something he would do. I don't have this kind of money in the cash register. Come upstairs and I'll get you settled here, sorted. And, I think it's before they even get upstairs that he's commenting on how, maybe that happened upstairs. It doesn't matter. But, like, that he knows her mom and that she's attractive, the mom, and that clearly some of that rubbed off on Billie Jean. And you can see where this is going. I mean, he's definitely trying to put the moves on her and, is basically proposing that he will give her $50 and she will give something to him. And then every time she comes back, the same thing will happen until he's paid off the scooter or not paid off the scooter, or as it were. And,
yeah,
boy, it's a real shocker that she does not want anything to do with it.
Yeah.
As she does not, and rightfully so, because he's a creepy dude. And I don't know, like it's an interesting element for a PG-13 movie, don't you think?
I do, and it's one of the reasons I think that it's a masterpiece, and here's why.
Okay.
Because I just feel like, well, a little bit of it is the moment we're all in right now.
Yeah, for sure. It's hard not to watch this without all this going on in Hollywood and the accusations flying every day.
Yeah. It's like, I mean, and it's all just, I don't know, it's all just right there. It's like,
yeah,
this guy, this is not the first time he's ever done this.
Nope.
She's underage. He feels completely comfortable making this proposal, knowing nothing bad is possibly going to happen to him. Mm-hmm. And so a little bit of it is specifically, a little bit of the reason I think it's a masterpiece is because of the moment we're in.
Yeah.
Just because it's nice to watch this movie. It's like she will absolutely not stand for it. It's super scary because he's completely got the upper hand. Like you totally understand that there is no good outcome from this moment now. Like, even before she comes downstairs and anybody gets shot. Like,
right.
No one's going to believe her over him. And now, and she's had to go through this experience at all. So anyway, but
well, I was going to say, would you have thought that this movie would have had more of a feminist bent to it than Desperately Seeking Susan at the start of watching these two?
No.
Yeah, I mean,
but yeah, I mean, it's like this one. Yeah, exactly. This one has sort of the 100% pure feminist view.
Yeah.
Feminist track, like the feminist story. And it really continues through the whole thing. Like you can tell, like there are the men characters who would never, who just, what was it? What was I thinking? I guess it all hit me whenever they meet Lloyd, which we can get into in a little bit.
Yeah.
Where he proposes that he will be a hostage for them. And it's like, like he's not going to take control. He's going to literally just give himself to them to help them and that kind of thing. Like, I don't know. It just seemed like, this thing has feminism coming out of its asshole.
Whoa.
Sorry. I'll walk that back. But it's but it really, it's very, very interesting to see.
But yeah, I agreed. And like that's all kind of set in motion in that scene. And then, they do come downstairs because she's trying to get away, but also, Binks and Ophelia and Yeardley Smith, Putter, they all get concerned and then go inside. And just so happens that there is a gun in the cash register drawer, which I buy that, Yeah. You're a shop owner. I buy it.
Texas 1985, yeah.
It's a little, I don't know, maybe Christian Slater, he's a 15-year-old boy. It's like, oh my God, look at this thing, man. Look what I found. And it's like, completely waving it around. I do think he like looked in the barrel at one point, but it's certainly new to him. And Pyatt comes down, Billie Jean's like, we didn't get the money. We got to get out of here. And Binks points the gun again. It's like, give me the money. Don't do anything. Don't take a step forward. And Pyatt is saying the gun's not even loaded. and it goes off. And
Yep.
I liked how they did that. It felt like a believable misfire in some ways, you know.
Yeah.
And partly it's just because of how, Christian Slater, like, clearly, like, there's not a moment where he's like pretending that he knows how to use a gun, really.
Right.
Also, it just felt like the way that the gun was positioned, even like it just made sense, and the way they shot it and edited and all that stuff. I totally thought he got shot in the chest, though, man. Like, I thought, oh Jesus, I thought he killed that guy at first.
Oh wow, yeah.
And that you never had that thought?
I didn't. I didn't, and I didn't know how it was going to go. Like, I didn't know that they just injured him at all. But no, for whatever reason, it always looked like they hit him in the shoulder.
Okay.
And so I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still not good. Like, you can hit somebody in the shoulder, and it could still be a major problem.
Oh yeah.
So.
But yeah, that's kind of. I mean, that's the thing. That's what puts them on the path that they are on. And from there forward, it's sort of, a case where they realize that, it will definitely be Pyatt's word versus theirs. And they, are the kids from the trailer park. And they're not going to have much leg to stand on in that matter.
No.
And again, I like that, and it's a good, like, engine to get these kids out there. I like that Ophelia, who's sort of, I don't remember how she's related to Putter or if she is at all, but clearly they spend a lot of time together. But so she's got the station wagon. She drives like a maniac. Like, I definitely thought of Johnny Cash and Murder in Coweta County. Every time she's out there, it's just like hang on for dear life, which I thought was kind of funny. And they don't have money for gas, really. Like, I mean, to me, like, all that stuff is it is kind of more interesting than them, because I did wonder, I was like, well, wouldn't they just get the hell out of this town, or out of this state? Like, just go west as far as you can go, or wherever, go to Vermont. And they don't, but they don't have
curious thing that they kind of stick around.
But they don't have the means to do so, I think.
They don't have the means, but then again, they're a part of it is that they find out that he's not dead.
Yeah.
So they know they're in trouble, but it's not like they're running from a murder. But it's also, she wants this money. Like, that's what it's all about.
Yeah, it becomes
she wants to make sure she gets the money.
Yeah, and it would have been a totally different movie. I think it would have to be if he had died.
Yeah,
because you don't get fair as fair then.
Right.
And that's, to me. And I like, actually, the movie because I did wonder if that guy had died, or because I thought he got shot in the chest.
Yeah.
There's a moment where, like, Binks is kind of like joking around in the car or he's just like talking about food, and Billie Jean is like, "Stop talking about your damn stomach. Like, what about Pyatt? Like, what if he's dead?" And I was like, "Oh, that's great. Like, that's all you need. Like, we just need to acknowledge that she at least is thinking about it, so that we're not like, oh, these teenagers are just kind of dumb,
Yeah, don't care about anything.
Right. And, I think them finding out that he didn't die then definitely sets up the fair is fair idea. And it leads us to get this great mall scene, right?
Yeah.
You can't have that mall scene if he's dead. And so I don't even remember how that was arranged. I think she called Peter Coyote, and basically they made some sort of like deal that, if Pyatt would show up and give her the money, they would turn themselves in.
Yeah.
Now, were they actually planning to do that, or was that? You think they were literally going to turn themselves in, all of them?
I think so.
Okay, because I wasn't sure. It was Billie Jean. Is she just going to do it, and then Binks?
See, I feel like I always felt like that was always the end game. Like, that was always the safest route.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Was like, at some point you got to turn yourself in, but once you turn yourself in, there's no way you're getting that money.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But the mall, like, it looks amazing. Like, there's like a weird like waterfall feature, and there's always plants and stuff everywhere. Like, it is a happening mall.
So wonderfully 80s, and yeah, apparently they never changed it. Like, it's a dead mall now, but like they never like updated it.
Yeah. And maybe we can throw up that link you sent me with the video from inside the mall now, which is kind of scary, but kind of cool.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I did have one little thing that bothered me a little bit about this mall scene, and it's more just in the plotting of it. So they show up, they're like messing around, like going through the toy store. Bink steals a fake toy gun. Billie Jean goes down the escalator. She's got a hat on, and Pyatt's at the bottom waiting for her. He's got the envelope of money, which has come from Peter Coyote, from the detective. It's his own money, which, Pyatt kind of makes fun of him about, or just, says that he wouldn't do it himself. But before she even gets to the bottom, if I'm not mistaken, Pyatt gives his son Hubie the signal to go and like sneak attack her on the escalator.
Yeah.
I thought that was an odd decision for a man to make, because what's the end game there? Because he is working with the cops. So there are multiple cops on the scene. What exactly did Pyatt think? Like, they're just everybody's gonna be okay with his son beating the shit out of Billie Jean in a mall?
Yeah, I didn't understand that either.
That was a weird plan.
It couldn't be just to grab her.
No.
Like,
because she's gonna turn herself in. You're like, what? And like, Hubie came after her like he was intent on hurting her, But he got another knee in the balls for his trouble. Again. Yep.
Oh, that poor guy.
And that is the moment where they escape, and you've got all these witnesses, and you have those great like on-camera interviews for the news later, where sort of the actual legend of Billie Jean is born. But correct me if I'm wrong, they run into the kids that recognize her at the gas station. That was prior to that, right? Where the girl is like, you're in the paper, and they pay for the food,
I think so.
Food. Okay. But so like it's been a day at least since the shooting. Her face is in the paper, and you're already getting a little bit of the kids saying like, oh, this is a person of interest to us, And
they sort of realize like how recognizable they are and all that stuff. Yeah.
And I kind of wonder too, like if my issue with the sort of quickness with which all these people suddenly take Billie Jean's side, if just seeing that whatever the news report was of the story, because you have to imagine it came from Pyatt. It's his side of events, this whatever was reported, right?
Right.
So it's not going to include the fact that he was making moves on her.
No.
Because I felt like if there was some way that other kids knew that, then for sure you take Billie Jean's side,
right?
But anyway, again, it's just one of those things. I guess I'm gonna have to get over, since this is a masterpiece.
Yeah.
But anyway, like after the mall, like forget about it. Yeah, the kids are like, oh man, Billie Jean's awesome. She need the guy right in the nuts.
Yeah,
I love that dude.
That dude and the guy interviewing, like when I was watching that, I was just all I could think was, Sean's gonna love at least this part. There's no way he's leaving
all of it,
and not loving this.
All of those things. I love the scenes too. I mean, it's really like it's not even that as much as it was just a little bit later, because I think the other big piece of this movie then kind of happens shortly after that, when these group of kids kind of I guess they just break into somebody's house.
Yep. Looks like nobody's home.
So they're driving through a nice neighborhood. It looks like nobody's home. They go in the house, and they're making themselves at home in the kitchen. And Helen Slater, I think, goes to just walk around and check out the rest of the house. And we see a person dressed as a werewolf in the background.
So great.
So good. Were you expecting any of that? I mean, did you
no.
Okay.
Again, that's what, because you have them in the house and they're doing that, and like I kind of had this feeling like this isn't really something that would be happening.
Yeah.
For some reason, I don't see Billie Jean like, it's okay to go in someone's house and just eat all their food. It's fine. It seems a little weird in terms of her ideology. But then you cut to a closed circuit camera, TV of a closed circuit camera watching all of them. And then you see this hairy hand like go across the front of it. And you're just like, wait, was that Harry? Like what did I just see?
Yeah.
And then yeah, Helen Slater's walking down a hall and you see like this hairy thing like behind her. I mean, no, I didn't. It was great. What a great choice. What an completely odd choice. But it turns out that they're in the house of Keith Gordon, known as Lloyd, who is the son of what? Do they know he's the son of the district attorney at that point? I don't know.
I don't think
but
they
clearly,
did. Yeah.
Yeah. Clearly they have money. He clearly loves movies, so he's got lots of masks and cameras and TVs around.
Did he have a car bed in his room?
A car bed that you sort of sleep in the trunk, it looks like?
Yeah.
It looked very
Oh,
uncomfortable.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
I don't know why you would say that.
But it beats the hell out of what's his name's bed from Nightmare 2.
Leather duvet? Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, it was a really great choice. And I like it for a lot of reasons. I mean, not just because it's kind of fun and unexpected, but it's also like, you know what? They did come to the right place because this guy is just as much of a misfit as they are, if not more so.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
Yeah.
he's not the kind of guy that probably has like a record or anything. He's not going to juvie. I don't think. He's just kind of a weirdo. Like, you know, Lloyd is definitely not a guy that you would think of fitting in Texas football country, you know, Friday Night Lights kind of world, or that trailer park or any of these guys. So yeah, it's a nice, because I wondered about that. I was like, even thinking before he shows up, I was like, how is my knowledge of that guy from, you know, back to school was like, how is that guy going to fit into this? It was like, he going to be doing a Texas accent or what? Like, you know, and he's not. You know, he's clearly from a different class. And yeah, I thought that was interesting. And then, you know, shortly after, you know, they meet him and they're talking to him, he says something, I can't remember what it was, and then jumps out the window. Yeah. And then you hear a splash and hear him laughing. And of course, he's got a water slide that goes from his window to the swimming pool. Which, I mean, that's some silver spoon shit right there. Like, that's just awesome.
All the rich kids had that, yeah.
Yeah, it was great. And, you know, they end up swimming a little bit. And then we failed to mention there's another big moment, actually, in this movie of characters watching something on TV where they're watching Joan of Arc. And if you had asked me at the beginning of this movie if Joan of Arc, A, was going to be mentioned, and B, was literally going to be used as the inspiration for her to cut her hair, I would have said, no, there's no chance in hell, Craig, that's any of that's going to happen.
That's amazing, and
it works. I can't, like, I
totally works.
I can't believe that it works, like, but it does. Like, yeah.
No, it does, and it kind of made me start thinking like to watch a movie like that and then say, yes, that's what I am. I'm a martyr. Like, I don't think real martyrs think of themselves as martyrs.
I wondered that too. In fact, I thought that maybe they could have reversed the order just a little bit. And because they were like, we're going to make a video, I'm going to tell it like it is, right?
Yeah.
And so I thought, wait, she's cutting her hair before the video? Like, it would have made sense to me to just make the video with your long hair. Then you cut your hair just so that you have a different look. You know, you give this video to the police, so they're looking for the Billie Jean with long hair. And meanwhile, you're on the lam and you've got a completely different look, basically.
Right.
So the fact that that's not how it happened, and the fact that she cut her hair intentionally, like, for this video, and then says what she does in the video, yeah, I mean, she has to be a little self-aware, I think. You know, it's hard to think that she wouldn't. But I thought they still kind of handled that well. Like, there's never a moment where it felt like, you know, it's not like Teen Wolf where suddenly, like, I'm in love with being popular, you know, or being, you know, it's none of that. To me, it felt it felt like genuine and naive enough that it wasn't like annoying that she did that, in my opinion.
Well, and I guess to think about it, like it's I don't feel like it's explicit in the movie, but here is a way to increase my tiny amount of power that I have right now.
Yeah.
Like I have the ear of these kids, here's this model of someone who, now is like thought of as sort of an icon of whatever resistance or, like really, sticking with something all the way to the end, to the point of being burned at the stake. So, really maybe it's just more like I'm going to increase my power. I'm going to increase this persona that people are latching onto, it'll help us get through this. Yeah.
Yeah. And honestly, like it did kind of just work for me as not really this premeditated thing even. It was just like, oh, well, I watched this movie, I got inspired, and then I did this and I said this and it came out in the moment.
Sure.
At least like definitely that speech,
Yeah.
And she was just telling the truth. I mean, and we knew it as an audience that what she was saying was the truth. And so, I think it works just like on that like basic level.
Throughout this movie, up to this point, Sean, I've been writing every now and again, masterpiece ?
Okay.
And when we cut to the delivery boy,
you got rid of the question mark, didn't you?
I just threw the pad of paper just across the room. I was like, this is clearly a masterpiece because Sean, we go from they make this video and Lloyd offers himself up as a hostage, and they're like, okay, we're gonna send this this video out. And they send it out. I guess they send it out to the television stations too, right? They just send it anywhere they can send it. But what we cut to is this tiny redheaded little boy carrying in both hands, just carrying this package, and we're just following him.
Yep.
Never seen him before. Don't know who he is. We're just following this cute little redheaded boy walking along. He walks up to the police station, walks inside, walks up to Peter Coyote, gives him this tape. They all watch the tape, and at the end, the little boy shoots his hands up in the air just like
Fair.
his hero, Billie Jean.
Yep.
Sean, that moment on its own would have been worth watching the whole movie to me.
I agree.
I loved that.
Yeah.
And I don't even know who was that kid? Who
No idea.
gave him the tape? Like
Doesn't
how,
matter.
when?
Yeah.
It doesn't.
They paid him
It's
in
just
bubble
that's-
gum and cheese fries or something and sent him on his way.
God. But that's when I knew it was a masterpiece, just so we all know the exact moment.
Yes.
Oh, I love that.
Having a 4-year-old like in the house with me all the time, I'd be hard pressed to, you got to be really specific within your instructions to do something like that with a kid, So
I could see the kid get into the building,
Yeah.
but then once he's inside the building, man, things get really complicated.
Yeah. Can I
I don't know.
speak to Detective Peter Coyote, please? Yeah, he doesn't say a word the whole time. It's great. No, it's a nice little moment for sure. I love that, and honestly, it's really it was after all of that's when the stuff like just like the level of believability to me, it just sort of kind of went the direction where it was a little harder to do because
Sure.
it's aside. I mean, I like that. Like we talked about, there's a scene where they find out that this kid is being beaten by his father. These other kids like, you're Billie Jean, well, there's Keith over there is getting beat by his dad or something. And like she goes and helps that kid, and like they're all the like these neighborhood kids like as they're walking, they're like, there's Billie Jean, oh my God. Like I like those moments.
Yeah.
But Pyatt, like having a scene where there's multiple people trying to buy a wanted poster of Billie Jean in his shop.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it's like I don't know. Like nobody. Like when did he print these? Like how did who's buying it? Like who was buying it?
Right.
If it's limited to kids being infatuated with her, I think that's pretty cool. But when it becomes like adults spending their money and like I don't know. Like to me, and like I said, like there's literally Billie Jean frisbees for sale at the beach in this movie, and towels and everything. And like that to me is just the slight difference of detail where I think they went too far.
So, but wait, so what went too far? Like first, like you don't believe
I don't
anyone
believe
buying that stuff, or they wouldn't be buying it from him?
Both.
Or what?
Both.
Okay.
I don't know that he would be selling that stuff. I don't believe.
Oh,
I just don't.
I bought all of it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a movie. I forgive it for sure.
Yeah.
At any rate, yeah, it's definitely building to a head. You know, they've been chased by someone who pulled a gun and shot out their window because there's essentially a $10,000 reward for bringing her in or bringing them in. So not only do they have to be careful about the police finding them, but now they have to be careful about others finding them, and specifically adults. Like, adults won't care. Like, that's the kind of thing. Yeah. It's like they will kill us just as quickly as they'll, catch us alive. And also just the weight of all this kind of landing on Billie Jean's shoulders, that how responsible of her is it to be dragging Putter and Ophelia along for this ride when really they have nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
Other than being there. And then Putter gets her period. And
again, man, you don't get more feminist than that.
You don't, yeah.
Like it is, and it's just like, and
she laughs
of course,
about it.
Christian Slater's like, oh, that's gross, but not our Billie Jean. It's like, that's wonderful. And Putter is just like so excited because she's getting older. Like the whole, talk about surprises.
Yeah.
Talk about things you didn't expect to have happen in this movie.
Yes. In fact, I think she even then says, when can I get a diaphragm now?
Yeah.
It's a great line. Yeah. There's a little bit of romance blossoming between Keith Gordon and Helen Slater.
Yeah.
But I think they're pretty tactful about that.
Well, and the movie isn't really about her figuring out her love life.
Exactly, yeah.
As the most important thing in the world,
right. No. Well, let's talk about the big moment at the end then, because that was kind of an interesting scene as well. They kind of, again, I think agree to turn themselves in and bring Keith Gordon back to his father, deliver him.
Yeah.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but is Pyatt supposed to pay at this point or no?
I thought the idea was that they're going to deliver a new bike.
Right. But it's happening at Billie Jean Day at the beach. And there's a ton of people there. And the cops are there. And there are long-range sharpshooters there.
If I was a townsperson in this movie, and I was a big fan of Billie Jean, and I knew that Billie Jean was going to turn herself in. So this is this whole, like, not crime spree, but this whole thing started off by somebody getting shot.
Right.
There's been numerous reports of gunplay and, people trying to shoot them. Like, I don't know that I would go to be there when this all goes down.
Oh, but it's not. It's like,
no, people
party.
Can't wait.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It is a beach party.
And at that point, Putter has now cut her hair like Billie Jean.
Yep.
As I remember. So Billie Jean called the cops and had them turned in so they'd be safe.
Mm-hmm. And that was a nice little moment when she splits from the rest of the group, and there's like, it's like an underground network of kids now. And like there's a girl that's got her hair cut like Billie Jean in every different little scene as she moves from place to place and car to car, and they're kind of helping her get where she needs to go, and trying to get back to Binks, basically. Yeah, all that stuff was great. And then, you get a nice little switcheroo there at the end where, you've had these silhouetted people come walking in, and everybody's waiting, and it sure looks like Billie Jean and Keith Gordon. And then, was it Hubie again? It was
Hubie.
Yeah, Hubie runs up and takes a closer look and notices that is actually Christian Slater. Christian Slater has his fake toy gun on Keith Gordon, as you do when you are delivering a hostage.
You got to do it.
And in the melee of it's his brother, one of the sharpshooters, bam, takes out Binks's shoulder.
Yeah.
And it turns out Miss Billie Jean is actually wearing a wig and elsewhere in the crowd, and does not at all appreciate seeing her brother be shot, and is running screaming after him. And how did that work for you?
I mean, I kind of got the idea. So she was there. She was going to go in and make sure that the bike was really there.
Right. Did you see Binks getting shot? Did you anticipate that?
Once the sharpshooter showed up, yeah.
Yeah.
I kind of figured something like that was going to happen. I was trying to kind of roll it through my mind and think, like if Binks was in the crowd, like why would that necessarily be bad?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I could kind of see why. I mean, if someone figures out it's him, I don't know. How does that plan work for you?
I kind of liked it, and I actually, unfortunately, had read that he got shot at the end before I saw the movie. So I knew that was going to happen. There's part of me that wonders if it might have been slightly more interesting if Keith Gordon had been shot, because it was his dad that kind of ordered the sharpshooters.
Yeah.
It could have been a nice little extra layer to that whole thing, but then I don't know what you would do exactly. I mean, I guess you would just have Billie Jean and Binks get arrested maybe. But I liked it, and then I did sort of, and all my complaining about there's no way in hell that anybody would be buying or selling Billie Jean Frisbees, you do sort of get the moment at the end there where the crowd kind of realizes that they've been a participant in sort of, the bullshit of this story, and in some ways, playing into, really disrupting this girl's life, basically. As much as she wants to be a martyr and an icon, they've exploited it, and they've kind of participated in that by buying all this crap, and, they start tossing it in the fire, which I thought was kind of a nice little touch at the end. And then you get the big statue of Billie Jean, the sort of weird paper mache statue that had been made for the thing, that going up in flames to complete the Joan of Arc analogy.
Very nice.
Which I liked.
Very clean.
Yeah. I did wonder during all of that I was like, there's a little bit of fire there, and there's a lot of straw around here, and nobody seems really concerned about putting that fire out. And sure enough, it turns into a gigantic blaze, which I thought was kind of fun.
It certainly seems, pretty dangerous for everyone involved.
Yeah, I would have got out of there or just tried to put the fire out before that. But it's like, well, it's all Pyatt's crap, so it's nice to see him.
I understood that.
Lose it
Still
all.
feel like though that the wind shifts and then pretty much everybody's choking on fumes.
Yeah.
So.
And I hate to say it, but we got a freeze frame ending here, and I don't even remember what was it. What was in them? What happened at the very end?
No, the freeze frame. Okay, so then we end up in Vermont.
That's right. Yes, of course.
Yeah.
Yes. Cut to.
And Billie Jean's trying to like hitchhike a ride, I think, and then Binks comes out of the store behind her with food, and he notices a red scooter, not a red scooter, but a red snowmobile.
Yeah.
It looks reminiscent of his scooter, and that's what we freeze on.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we go out on Invincible. Is that what it is?
We have to. Yeah, I'm sure it was. Yeah, God knows. Now, what about that as an ending? Because clearly we've had a couple movies that do that, where they sort of tack on an ending that doesn't necessarily suggest the story is finished.
Right. Well, I mean, I guess that's the thing, is like, I was trying to figure out how they were going to end it, and I was really hoping it wasn't going to be everyone sitting around the hospital room, and Peter Coyote comes in and says, "Oh, they've dropped the charges," and that
would have been terrible.
Kind of go through all the stuff. I felt like, hey, all right, Vermont scene. I mean, that scene is like 60 seconds long. Yeah, it tells me everything I need to know. Like, he went to the hospital and had to get fixed up, so
he's got a sling on
the run again. Yeah. So clearly things were fixed up enough, and now he's in his dream destination. So, all right. Sure, you just got to shoot somebody and then you can go to Vermont. That's pretty much the lesson of the movie.
Well, how do you think their population got there in the first place? I mean, the people that are there now, yeah.
It's mostly
my wife is
runaways and
from
outlaws.
Vermont, so trust. I know a thing or two about shooting people in Vermont. No, it's a lovely state. Yeah, on the whole, definitely, I think this is a surprisingly fun movie and really good performances by young people. I don't know. I think it does not need to be 129th on the year at the box office. That
Not at
seems
all.
surprising.
I think that's criminal. And like I feel like Helen Slater is just, I don't know, maybe like a degree away from being in the Brat Pack, and that would have made all the difference. I don't know. Like, so yeah, man, definitely everybody seek out this movie because it has not gotten its due.
No. And even if it's not a masterpiece yet, it has not gotten its due, which we can both agree it's not.
But it is a masterpiece, though.
We'll agree to disagree, but yeah, it's an easy recommend on my part. And I think it's the better of the two.
Me too.
So check those out, and then, yeah, as always, we love to hear what you think of these things, and if you have fond memories of either of these movies, let us know, or you can watch them online, and in many of the streaming locations, they are easily and readily available right now. And guess what? We're back next time to tee up two more of these suckers as we wind down the year of 85, for the year of 2017 at least. And yeah, we hope you'll join us for that.
Please do.
Craig.
Sean.
Scooter or snowmobile? You only get one.
Man, I'm gonna go scooter.
Yeah,
I'm definitely gonna go scooter.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
What about you?
See, I don't know. I don't want to rely on a scooter as my main mode of transportation, even if I live in a warm place. A snowmobile, that seems like it'd be a lot of fun when you get to use it the rest of the year. You don't have to think about it. You don't have to worry about it. You don't have guys. There's no bullies chasing you on snowmobiles, to my knowledge.
No. That's true.
So
that's true.
I'll go
That makes
snowmobile.
sense.